Donald Trump released another one of his truth social diatribes, I call them, these video statements or addresses, I guess you could call them, that he posts, always unhinged. You can definitely expect that when we go over these videos. This one is no exception. It's on the subject of the border, undocumented immigration, but more specifically, his campaign promise. He's said this in the past. It's been his stance for a while, but he's reiterating it for his 2024 campaign, saying if he were to, God forbid, become president again, he would attempt to get rid of birthright citizenship, which was established by the 14th Amendment. And because of that, under U.S. law, if you're born on American soil, even if your parents are undocumented immigrants, if you're born on U.S. soil, you're a U.S. citizen. Super important and correct. He wants to get rid of that. How he would do that, I don't know, because like I said, this is something that derives itself from the Constitution. So he's promising an executive order, which is just strange and constitutionally blurry, unconstitutional. But it's yet another attempt to make this an issue, fearmonger about this, and go after people. And that's what I want to talk about here. I've gone through in the past specifically what I think we should be doing when it comes to immigration and the border, because while Trump, as you're about to hear, will go through all of his normal talking points, super dishonest, fear-mongering all the time, like I said, and that's irrelevant to a relevant and important conversation we could be having about the border, about undocumented immigration, about all of those things, because while they lie about what's happening, the Biden's opened the border and they're not enforcing laws or whatever. And again, that's irrelevant to an important conversation. But it's true that we have a humanitarian crisis when it comes to our southern border and a major logistical problem. And also our legal immigration system is not properly invested in, is not properly structured, is not efficient enough, all of that. And so I'm not going to go through all of the parts, as I did sort of recently in a Ted Cruz segment. So feel free to go watch that. But what I want to focus on here, well, number one, we should be doing correct things and having a serious conversation. But because of what you're about to hear from Trump here, we can't. And what I want you to take note of when we watch this is just how dehumanizing his rhetoric has become. And some within the MAGA part of the GOP really buy into such dehumanizing language, and take note of that.
Joe Biden has launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens to storm across our borders. From all over the world they came. Under Biden's current policies, even though these millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully, all of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine? They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and countless other government benefits, many of which will also profit the illegal alien parents.
So we'll watch a little bit more, but should we have immigration law and should we enforce laws at the southern border and all of that? Of course. And I've said before, we shouldn't have undocumented immigration because we should, in part, be investing more in a more efficient and expanded legal immigration process, so more people have a shot in that direction. But also, yeah, of course, enforce laws on the border, all that stuff, immigration laws. Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't mean you then turn around and dehumanize people by calling this an invasion, as people are seeking a better life, by, quote, illegal aliens. That shows me you have no interest in a serious conversation about solutions, because you're willing to ruin the legitimacy of the conversation by bringing in so much vitriol that has no place. It has no place in a logical discussion about solutions. It just shows you're blinded by your hatred. Continuing.
This policy is a reward for breaking the laws of the United States and is obviously a magnet helping draw the flood of illegals across our borders. They come by the millions and millions and millions. They come from mental institutions. They come from jails, prisoners. Some of the toughest, meanest people you'll ever see.
I don't know where he started getting that talking point. They come from mental institutions. He repeats that every single time. Just quickly to read on birthright citizenship. This is from CNN. Citizenship was a central question left up by the original Constitution, says Rosen, a constitutional expert. At the time it was written, the Constitution assumed citizenship, but it didn't provide any rules for it. In the infamous Dred Scott decision, the Chief Justice said African Americans can't be citizens of the United States and had no rights, which the white man was bound to respect. The U.S. Supreme Court's ruling in the Dred Scott case, named for a slave who unsuccessfully sued for his freedom, has since been widely condemned, of course. And then the 14th Amendment was designed to overturn this decision and define citizenship once and for all, and it was based on birthright, Rosen says. It is really important that it's a vision of citizenship based on the land rather than blood. It's an idea that anyone can be an American if they commit themselves to our constitutional values. Crucial to what it means to be an American, to not buy into, as it said, the idea that citizenship is based on blood, but instead, as far as being born, land, and then if you go through the process of becoming a citizen, if you weren't born here as well. And so I guess Trump is saying that if he were to become president again, the caption is, as part of my plan to secure the border, on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order ending automatic citizenship for the children of illegal aliens. So then you could have a situation where, again, I don't know how he would do that constitutionally and enforce that, but you would have a situation where someone could be born here, their entire life is here. This is all they know. And then they get stripped away and deported to, I guess, where if their parents are undocumented immigrants, where their parents were born. Really wild. Quick update while we're on the subject of the border. This is from PBS. You might remember there was a huge expectation that there would be a huge influx of migration across the southern border after Title 42 was lifted, but actually the opposite has happened.
As you'll remember, it's now been 2 weeks since Title 42 ended. That was the pandemic-era policy that allowed U.S. officials to immediately expel anyone arriving at the U.S. southern border. And in the weeks before that ended, we'd already seen a huge increase in the numbers of people arriving at the U.S. southern border. Everyone we talked to then, U.S. officials and immigration attorneys and non-profits.
So this was before, and then she'll get to after.
They were all preparing for even bigger numbers, for a bigger surge after Title 42 ended. It didn't happen. The numbers actually went down. And the big question was why? Well, we found out why today. When we crossed into Mexico and we spoke with people waiting on the Mexican side of the border, there is now a huge backup there. People from Venezuela and Honduras and Colombia and further afield who say they are now going to wait because of the rule changes that U.S. officials have implemented. They know now that the message the U.S. officials have been trying to get across for months now, saying the border is not open, saying that if you try to enter without permission, you could be banned from entry, saying you can't enter without an appointment with a U.S. border official. They have heard that message loud and clear. They tell us that they are going to wait. That is why the numbers have gone down.
Wow. So it's just interesting because all of this messaging from the GOP that Biden's opened the border is serving the opposite purpose as the one that they would say they're serving, right? Them trying to aggressively putting out that message is actually putting out a very confusing message for people who are deciding whether or not to enter the country. And now, as that correspondent from PBS noted, the message has been heard that that's not the case. And I'm not saying that's the only factor. Not even close. There's so many factors I mentioned before. It's often ignored, but so crucially, the most important factor, what's going on in the countries that people are migrating from. What are the conditions there and what's causing people to move? But you have to accept the fact that an entire party in the country putting out the message that, oh, the borders are open, might confuse people for sure. And apparently now the message is heard that that's not the case, and some rule changes are being put into place. And again, if we had a more efficient and expanded with better capabilities, legal immigration system to process people and all of that, you would see people go more in that direction for sure. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to be a part of what makes this show possible, plus get access to the full video version of the show hours before all the clips are able to be uploaded to the YouTube channel, plus get the bonus show on the weekends, you can do so by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/membership. That's lukebeasleyshow.com/membership, and there's a link in the description.